What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Koppai Podcast, episode 81, the beginning of the end. I am one of your hosts, Kaz and Risk, joined alongside Mr. Koppai himself, Zach Risk.
Shiggity Schwat.
Shiggity Schwat. And as you heard, and as you'll see in the title of the episode and the thumbnail and the apocalypse, and all the imagery and all that, this is the beginning of the end. We have done 80 episodes of Koppai, from humble beginnings in Dad's basement to humble endings in your basement. We've gone through and we've speculated about the Nintendo NX. We have been hyped for the Nintendo Switch announcement. We have celebrated the launch of the Nintendo Switch. We have looked back on the Switch. We are looking ahead to the future. We're talking about PlayStation, Xbox, the rise of the Battle Royale genre. We've gone through a lot with this show, and we're getting busy. You're ending your college time. I just ended my college time, working full-time. We have puppies. We have wives. We've gotten married over the course of this Koppai podcast.
Yep, I think they're documented on this show, actually.
Yeah, like we talked about your honeymoon because we talked about Universal and the partnership with Nintendo.
Yeah.
And so we've had a lot, and we're getting so busy, and we're finding it kind of hard sometimes to squeeze in the hour to do a show every week. And because with each hour podcast, there's also the hour of looking for news, editing the news, compiling the news. There's another hour of editing, publishing, boosting SEO. There's time throughout the week of checking comments, engaging in comments, sending out tweets and reminders to check out the show, sharing the show on Reddit and Facebook and other places. So it's been taking a lot of energy to consistently produce this show and maintain the quality we want to do. And you know what, like, it's kind of tough to keep doing that. Don't know if we can do it in the current state of our lives. Not to say Koppai is done forever, but we wanted to do 20 final little bite-sized episodes to end up and build up to an episode 100 series finale, where I don't even know what we're going to do. We don't even have the plan for episode 100 yet. No. Maybe we can do another 15-hour live stream. And then do Hot Pepper.
Yeah, it'll be quite a while until we actually get to that point where it's the actual final bit. So there's going to be plenty of Koppai, these 20 episodes. I mean, it took us a while, how many years to get to even 80 episodes? Like, didn't we start this in 2013? So if we release it weekly, then in 20 episodes, and then we also probably have possibly a little break in there again.
Yeah, it's like about 5 months. Yeah. So it'll be between now and probably the end of like 2018.
And what I was also thinking is, you know, who knows what's in store for the future of Koppai, but I think that it's good to at least give these, you know, get it to 100 and get these final 20 episodes out. And then who knows what'll happen again. You know, we might return one day, but
yeah. Well, I was also thinking, you know, we own the Koppai Gaming YouTube URL. I don't know if our SoundCloud, you know, will be able to stay up because that does, you know, cost monthly money to keep it up and keep all the shows on there. But all the episodes are on YouTube. But I mean, I was thinking, you know, that as much as hard work as it is to maintain the podcast episode every month or every week, like we could still do Let's Plays and live streams, and you may see us pop in from time to time and live stream a few hours of Fortnite or you know, Mario Odyssey DLC, or if they bring Super Mario Maker to the Switch.
Oh yeah,
like we did
that's
Mario
our
Maker
live stream game.
We did that for quite a bit, and that's a game that like my wife would love to live stream with me, and I've even thought about live streaming it on the Wii U again, and like, you know, we were never like the best players necessarily, but we were pretty creative and always had good commentary, I think, with that. So I mean, it's not the end of Koppai. It's just we're kind of, you know, reaching the finality of the show.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting. We took our break kind of over holiday, just to kind of unwind a little bit because it was, you know,
because last episode was episode 80 and it was about the Game Awards.
Yeah. So it was right before we kind of went on break and we needed a little vacation, but we also wanted to come back, I think, with kind of a, you know, we wanted to rebrand again, just be better. We always want to evolve and improve, and we just couldn't really, we just couldn't get to the deadline of really getting our whole rebranding. Maybe it was too ambitious what we wanted to do. We just were constantly like thriving for the next big plateau instead of just maintaining maybe what we had. And so it just kind of took a while to get back. And then we thought, maybe we should at least, instead of just never coming back and instead of just,
so we had a few people messaging, someone, shout out to Dave and the Kind of Funny Best Friends.
Right.
One of them was like, yo, I think I posted about, I don't even know what I posted about. And someone was like, so when's Koppai coming back? I'm like, yo, I didn't even know we had
we had this huge vision for returning, but we were also so busy that it was just kind of maybe unrealistic.
Well, to show the logo that because I think we're going to stick with just the tried and true Koppai branding for the final 20.
Yeah.
But we should show, maybe release some of the concepts and the plans that we had. Like we were going to go kind of like with this cool retro 80s synth,
Well, it's tough as well because I think we should mention that Nintendo made it difficult at the end of our normal run with how, they made it difficult for years with the content creation on YouTube. And,
that's true.
And we were having to shift our whole branding again, not only because we constantly want to thrive to improve, but it was like, all right, now we have to branch out to everything because Nintendo is making it very difficult to only focus with them and go anywhere as a brand or as a channel. So where it's like we had to make it more content neutral, where it was just kind of gaming in general and not as heavy focused on Nintendo. And I think that's also something that kind of hung us up a little bit. Our Skyrim episode actually is the one right before our final is actually doing amazingly well. It's one of
the
our
VR
highest.
one.
Yeah.
And I've thought about live streaming because we own Skyrim VR. I've thought about live streaming that on the Koppai channel because in our Fractured Butthole review on SoundCloud has like 400, 500
Yeah. So we were getting
views
some success with that.
With being beyond Nintendo, and because as popular as the Switch is selling, not a lot of people want to sit down and listen to people talk about Mario for an hour, but people do love to tune into Fortnite and watch Skyrim Let's Plays.
And maybe I think that it wasn't possibly too ambitious. We should have just finalized the logo, finalized the thing, and got it done, but we were so busy with other things, with you graduating, with moving on to, the job and like stepping up in position, and my next semester going even more insane with an extra class, just everything piled up to the point where it just was taking long. So it was, and this was the perfect time to kind of come back and do a set of episodes. So I think, I am somewhat hesitant to even call them the final ones, but who knows? I think that we can only really commit to really doing this, and then
I think it's kind of the end of Koppai podcast is like we've kind of known it. Right. I think the tension we always had was we were always making this podcast, and it was an audio only show. We tried a few times to add video, but it was always primarily audio focused. But we were also usually trying to live in the YouTube realm. So we were making an audio-only show, but trying to find success and support and engagement and community on YouTube. But no one wants to necessarily sit and listen on YouTube for an hour. Like YouTube's more of like watching something for 3 to 5 minutes. Like they're always like, don't watch or don't make your video usually longer than 5 minutes. And if you do, then you want to hit 10 minutes, and you want to make it more like there's the whole PewDiePie model of like 10 minutes and 1 second and stuff and all of that. And so we were always having that struggle. So maybe we could continue on with daily or weekly 3 to 5 minute discussions that are designed to go along hand in hand with B-roll or footage or something like that. But I think that's kind of like in viewing these as the final 20 in quotes, I think that like doing Koppai as an hour-long audio format podcast is kind of like reaching its end. And then, how Koppai Gaming goes on with Let's Plays, discussions, the whole kind of game explain model maybe, it's definitely within the realm of possibility. I think it's just finding, that productivity schedule. Because it's super, because like we say now, oh, we'd love to go on, but then school start back up in the fall. And I get busy around like the holiday with workload and all that, and it's just like gotta find exactly the formula.
I think it's a good way to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And I'm just wondering, I look at I watch a lot of YouTube and see some channels that post once a week and find great success and awesome community, and I see other channels that post daily and find awesome success and all of that, and then I see others that post monthly and find success, and we just need to find, what works for us. And I think Koppai Podcast, as awesome as it was, wasn't necessarily the best content model for us as being the startup kind of people. Like, I almost imagine like episode 101, like if we ever do return and do episode 101, or Koppai Podcast or Koppai Radio episode 1 or something, like if we start over from scratch, I always imagine it being at a time where, like, if we somehow build a following in another way and we have a dedicated following that'd be willing to listen to the show.
Yeah.
It seems almost like we went about it the reverse way, where we wanted to build a community first with our podcast and then add some Let's Plays and, discussions and tweets and other side media. And then when it should have been, we should have built a following the other way and then had the podcast as the secondary thing. But, not to diss the podcast.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well, that I think that possibly, too, that we are just better with short-form content in terms of, like, your Splatoon history videos that you're kind of working on.
A lot of views, yeah.
Just sort of our graphic design side that kind of works better for short-form Let's Plays or reviews or analysis of games, of content, those sort of things. I think that, and also those sorts of quality videos and things, I think of channels like the Gaming Historian, who really only posts, every couple months or so, or every few months, or sometimes even half a year, because
right, Captain Christian or something.
Yeah. Some of
these
these channels are putting so much time into their production that almost every time they put out a video, it's a mini documentary or a mini, thing that's a big thing. People anticipate it coming, but it's not like a weekly, and they don't have to do it. Their channel actually finds success just from the quality of the content alone.
Well, yeah, and I think I watch Think Media TV and video influencers, and like one of the things they say is like, if you put out a video and it's bad, like it's bad out there forever, and if it gains no followers, it just sits out there. But if you put out like one video a month, and you do that for a year, you have 12 awesome videos out there. And then if someone walks and binges all of them, like if 100 or 10,000 people find your 12 videos and binge all of them, you just got 100,000 views and 100,000 like engagement and minutes watched. And then you built but if you put out 365 crappy videos or 52 1 hour long videos that no one watches and all that, it's like then you get nothing. Yeah. And so it's kind of, and I think so, like, as we kind of go through the future of Koppai and these final 20, like along the way, and as we kind of figure out, I think, even who's sticking around, like, post this video and see if anyone's been like, if Bullet Same Tune saying it's like Koppai is back. Like, if we post these final 20 and they each average 3 views, like, it's like, all right, maybe it's time to, like, that's it, But if we put it out and there's like some people sticking around, I mean, we have like a few hundred subscribers on YouTube, which I always kind of was like, dang it, I want 1 million subscribers, I want tens of thousands. And then I see some people on like these video influencers and Think Media TV forums, and they're like, I can't crack 10 subscribers. And I'm like, oh, like, I didn't realize that, like, to have a couple hundred is like actually like we kind of broke through a barrier to get, like, I think people always say that first 100's like some of the hardest, because once you get a couple hundred, people start to see that number, they start to see like, oh, there's people that are actually engaged in this, and I think it kind of gives us a little bit of credibility. But what were you gonna, I think you were gonna say something.
No, not really.
Oh, yeah, no. Well, yeah, so I guess to explain the final season or the final stretch of Koppai, whatever we end up, branding it and calling it, we're going to be doing them a little bit shorter, do a little bit of short-form content, because we won't have the Nintendo pipeline, we won't have, the games we're playing this week, we won't have the, topic of the week, or I guess that's actually what the show will only be each week, is the topic of the show. And so each episode's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes, with the last episode most likely being at least an hour, probably, maybe even 2 hours, depending on when we film it. And so what we're going to be doing is recording them in batches. Actually, shout out to Colin Moriarty and his Knockback series. He does that with his brother. and they film them. He flies out to New York. They film a batch, I think, of about 8 episodes. He releases them over the course of 2 months, and then he flies back out there. So he flies out a few times a year, and they're able to do it that way. And so we're going to follow that model of do a few batches of 15 to 20-minute episodes. You'll be seeing them throughout the next couple months, and then, 4th of July, end of summer, we'll film more. So there may be like a few weeks in between that, there's something that's missing or whatever, but we'll keep you up to date on all of that. And so expect them to be a little bit more short form, but a little bit more focused on one topic, one discussion. With this one being centered on the future of Koppai. And I think next week, our next topic is going to be our E3 predictions. We're hoping to get that out then before E3. Leaks and rumors are probably going to be coming up, and I already saw Ubisoft posted.
And I think that's what I was going to mention. I mean, I don't think that I was going to mention it after what you kind of went after, but some point in this episode, really quickly before we go, was that I haven't even been following like any really Nintendo news, like really, like a little bit. But like what we used to do was so extensive and like research, and I think about that frequently, about how like as I'm driving to work, it's like, man, I haven't been like following every single story that comes out about Nintendo like I used to. Like I used to, it was to the point where it was like, oh yeah, that story is several days old now, like that. I could see all the reposts, and I knew everything, that it was kind of like slow periods, and now it's just,
Our first episode, our very first topic, our first news item was we were talking about how if you mailed in your receipt for the digital code of Super Mario Maker, you could get mailed in the booklet that had all the instructions. Yeah. And that was the first piece of news we ever covered on Koppai. I'm like, that sets the tone for this show so well. Like, we got into everything. Yeah. Like, we went down My Nintendo News, and between the ending of the last episode to the start of this episode, every news item was discovered. We're going to unclog 18 items on the Nintendo pipeline. And so, we won't be doing that for these final 20. We have some topics, including, E3 predictions, most anticipated game. We're going to be talking, of course, about Fortnite, because that's all the craze. But we're also going to be talking about Blackout. I think we have some other fun topics that we're going to be covering, even beyond this batch of, favorite Nintendo memory, favorite PlayStation memory, or, kind of these more evergreen topics that, if you followed us for this long, stuff that I think you'll be interested in hearing, because you've obviously started to, care for our content. And if you're someone new and just tuning into Koppai for the first time, sorry you joined us at the end, but there's tons of stuff for you to listen to, tons of stuff to watch, and this is the beginning of the end of one era and the start of another era, I think. And so, I think that's pretty much it, unless I'm trying to think of anything else we want to say in this kind of intro episode that people need to know. They know to expect. Yeah, to expect the short form stuff. Zach wrote a note. It's time to stop. So on that note, until next time, go.